Hey, how's it going, everybody? Yoshi the Oreo here. So I want to come up with a video today talking about a specific behavior trait that I'm pretty sure a lot of you are quite aware of. Groups of people who have a lot of cons with little pros, but they always want to infiltrate the space, and they never want to leave the space for some reason. I find it weird. You find it weird. I think a lot of people with common sense find it weird that there is a lot of people with this behavior. And it's not just in the anime space, it's in a lot of spaces. It's in the black community, it's in the white community, it's in the anime space, it's in the gaming industry. It's everywhere. It's even in the religious sect. And it's gotten to the point to where I no longer consider this a behavior of like an individual. I consider this the behavior of an insect that was trained to think and talk like this in the hopes of invading a cultural space to take over it. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that they represent an invasion, or they represent some form of characteristic or some form of occupation where we are quite literally justified in actually dealing with them, rather through legal, or depending on how hard they resist, we have a justification in actually putting them 6 feet under. They carry the behavior or the occupation of what they really are, but they mask it with something else. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at one of the cultures or one of the subcultures or one of the identities that actually represents this behavior, which is quote unquote a woman. Now, this does not mean all women represent the behavior. As a matter of fact, if you're upset, you're only telling me this is representative of you, and you're only talking about yourself. So when it comes to the quote unquote woman who has a man that the only benefit that he has is that he has good dick. That's it. Just good penis. He knows how to dick her down. But he comes with a lot of cons, such as he can't hold the job, he doesn't work, he's lazy, doesn't feed the kids, he's selfish, does gangbang activities such as getting in trouble, gets in lots of trouble, like, you know, committing crimes, murder, robbery, carjacking, stealing, killing, more than likely a murderer, and he deals in hard drugs, mostly in the black community where he's fucking everybody else that looks like him. He can have all these negative traits, but despite the fact that he has all these negative traits, she still puts up with him because of one thing: he has good dick. And they misconstrue this as a real man. The problem with that is that this is not a real woman. She has the characteristics of a hoe, because that's what this is. It's a hoe. The only reason you have to keep this man around is he either has money or he has good dick. But he has all these negative traits. But you think now, because it's very suicidal, and it's very selfish, and it's very one-sided for like a woman to think, yeah, I'm gonna bring a man into my life like this who can't provide, can't do any of this stuff, but he's considered a man because he's a murderer and he's quick to anger. And the weird part is that they think they can tame these type of people, or they can fix these type of people by throwing the booty up. That's the problem. And not only like these type of women are a problem in terms of women in general, because unfortunately, like I said in other videos, it's kind of like the same effect of, you know, when you have, what does it take to make 100 black people look like 100 niggas? You take one bad nigga and you exemplify his actions to make 100 black people look like 101 bad niggas. It's just an example of how to demonize an entire group of women without by the actions of like that one woman. Like, this is something that really does need to be taken care of. It's a really, really bad action. But the problem here is that the behavior of this person, the behavior of this woman, is considered normal. But her behavior is a hoe. So through this normalization, it's the normalization of normalizing a hoe's behavior. Because they call this a woman, and everything she considers a man is valued a man. So let's look at another example. The anime tourist. Notice how these two examples, the woman and the anime tourist, have one thing in common. They have a shit ton of cons, but they have a ton of, they only have like one or two pros. But somehow the pros outweigh the con. But that shouldn't necessarily be the case. Because if we're talking about surviving, like, right, with a woman should not be depending on one factor of a man, which is his genitals, in order for him to survive. In order for her to survive, she needs to be depending on the fact that this man can provide, he can actually gather resources, and he can actually provide for her health and safety. That depends on her survivability. But if that man does not hold these attributes and he holds all these other attributes, and she's characterizing that as a man, she's not only being a detriment to women, she's also being a detriment to society itself, which is the same thing with the anime tourist. They go around saying that they like anime. Like, oh, you know, I watch Full Metal Alchemist, or I watch Bleach, or I watch Naruto, or, you know, some typical shonen anime that's easy and trendy that everyone's jumping into because it's easy and trendy. But they don't really watch other anime outside of that, like Cowboy Bebop or Made in Abyss. You better have a particular stomach for that one. Shows like what's that other one? Like Gundam, like old school Gundam. I'm talking about like fucking Trash Crush Granada and fucking God, what's his name? Guy with the blonde hair. It's been a while. I just recently played the Gundam game. Char, that was his name. Char. They don't watch shows like that. They watch the stuff that's easy that everyone that gets into it. But the problem is they always gravitate towards the trendy shows that always host these cons, such as the main character is a perv, the characters are like childlike and they're sexualized, it's heterosexual couples. Okay, this one I've been seeing a lot with borderline CP. Okay, first of all, anyone saying this has no understanding of bodily autonomy, and they honestly should be watched like a hawk, because they're essentially implying you can have some type of they're alluding to the idea that there's a way to come up with something where it's CP but it's not CP. But if you actually understand like crimes against children and you actually understand bodily autonomy, okay, can a child consent to sex? No. Why? Because they're not old enough to actually understand the complications, let alone handle the responsibilities and the consequences of what happens when a person participates in sex, to where that person can be indebted not only to the child, but also to the person that depends on that person and the child that they bring into that life. So they cannot under no circumstances consent to that, because they cannot handle the responsibilities of what sex brings into their lives, whether it be mentally, physically, or financially. So they can't consent to it. Okay, so if they can't consent to it, you can't have borderline CP. Because if they're consenting to it, then guess what? It's CP. Okay, so then how's it borderline CP? Exactly, there is no borderline CP. So if someone says borderline CP, watch that person like a hawk. They more likely either don't understand anything, or they truly believe you can, in fact, normalize the idea of grown men having sex with children. No black characters, no female protags, which is kind of crazy because, you know, there's a lot of anime out there with like female protags, so it's like shut the hell up. And small frame women are problematic, as in, you know, women like Uzumaki from like One Punch Man, who is like very small chested. They see her and the first thing they think of is child. That's a child. She's probably like 16, 17, 18, probably barely 18, but she's probably like 10, 11, 12, 13 or something. Those are very interesting claims, and those are very heavy cons. But notice how, despite the fact that they have these heavy cons, just like the woman has heavy cons, like typically, if you're a good person, right? If a good person gets any whiff of like any type of crime against children in some type of subculture, what's the first thing they do? They stay away from it. They don't participate into it. You know, just like how if you go into the Jewish space or you like look at the Jewish culture, they'll say like, oh, no one says anything along the lines of, oh, you know, I like this one thing about the Jewish culture, but it's riddled with child, you know, it's riddled with CP, so therefore I'll stay away from it. No one says that. They say it's evil from top to bottom. But then when it comes to anything else that is Jewish adjacent, they'll have one little thing that's a positive, but they'll have a whole host of cons, but the cons can't outweigh the pro. No one says, oh, you know, the Jews are pedophilic, but I have this one thing I like about them. No one says that. But like when it comes to women and like when it comes to anime tourists, they all have that same behavioral pattern. They have that one little pro that somehow outweighs all the negative cons. So if you have someone in your group that has any of these talking points, but they're like, I like the space, but you know, the space has like this one thing that I find problematic in it. They're projecting themselves. They're basically projecting their own desires onto you and saying you're the bad guy for liking the thing that I like, when that's not what you're into. Okay, so then the next thing you need to ask is, what other subgroup fits this characteristic of having this whole host of cons and this one little pro, but yet somehow that pro outweighs all these cons? Muslims. And I don't mean just any Muslim. I mean Muslim extremists. People that say death to America. People that say bring upon the global intifada. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. All three of these people are one and the same. They're one and the same. They have a few, if not one, pro with a whole host of cons, where in no circumstance should the pro outweigh the cons. Especially if, like, even if you're weighing it by one pro against one con, that one con should definitively outweigh the pros, but it doesn't outweigh the pros. Why? Because the identity of what they're trying to infiltrate is far more important. Or the identity that they want a part of their life is far more important than what they're saying is a con. So like when the Muslims, like you can go on Twitter, right? And you will occasionally see Muslims or Muslim accounts constantly saying like, oh, you know, Jesus or John or Mary or any type of character or any type of person from the Bible is quintessentially a Muslim. So therefore, because he or she is a Muslim, therefore you should be more accepting to Muslim. But then all of a sudden they'll turn around on the same accounts and quite literally say things along the lines of like, Jesus was a pedo who raped his mother to be born again. Don't know how that, I'm still trying to figure that one out. But yet somehow they will say that. Obviously they'll say Jesus is a Jew, and they'll uphold the Quran over the Bible because they'll say the Quran is the most perfectly preserved religion as opposed to the Bible, which is corrupted, which doesn't make any sense, because if the Bible is corrupted, why would you say John and the Virgin Mary and Jesus are all Muslim if the Bible is corrupted? Wouldn't that actually make Muslims corrupted by the same stature? No, it doesn't by their book, because again, they're trying to suppress Christianity and try to get you to join Islam, their version of the true religion. Just like how these people are trying to get you to join their interpretation of being a true anime fan. Or these women are trying to get you to adopt their interpretation of a true woman, as well as their adaptation of a true man. Mary was a whore and she was raped by God. Your president and the Jews are pedos, and Christianity is committing a genocide in terms of Gaza. But at the same time, despite the fact saying all this stuff, they'll still turn around and say Jesus does represent. Just like how the people in this group, this subsect of anime fans, will say, despite the fact that I don't like all this other stuff that's in anime, I'm an anime fan, so you should adopt my beliefs. Just like how this woman can look at all these qualities of the man and say, well, he's a good for nothing and he has good dick, that's the quality of a man and I'm the quality of a woman. And you should adopt that. These are demons masquerading as people trying to get you to adopt their behavioral characteristics so that way it's normal for them to do the things that they're saying that you're doing. If that makes any sense. Especially if you understand Islam. That quite literally their prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old and had sex with her at the age of 9. And oftentimes when you bring this up to people with an anime tourist that always talking about like the problematic things in like anime, and you tell them like there is a difference between fictional content being depicted like that versus a literal religion that it's not a descriptor, it's a literal command to quite literally marry minors in terms of upholding Islam. You bring that to them, they're like, I don't want to focus on that, I want to focus on this. Because I see the Japanese man drawing in his country far more problematic than the tens of millions of Muslims invading Western countries. That is a problem. And we need to treat these people as a problem. Because keep in mind, these are the type of people that will call you what they are and then say something's wrong with you because you don't copy them. And if you don't believe me, watch this. Keep in mind, this guy right here, Sneeko, is the type of person that will look at you, the anime fan, the person that actually respects Japanese culture, that actually knows how to live and let live, will look at you and say that you're the pedo, you're the gooner. Why? Is it because he actually cares about you, or is it because he actually wants to implement the thing that he's calling you? Because you have to understand where these people come from. People like Mike Hollow, people like Gideon, people like Alex Rosin. A lot of these grifters, you got to understand where these people come from. You got to understand where they're backing, what they're backing, as they're telling you to change.
It boils down to two things. Either you obey Allah or obey Shaitan. Now you tell me. Watching anime. You tell me.
Sneeko loves anime too.
I don't care about anime.
I hate anime. I'm so glad I got to meet. I hate anime.
Of judgment, you're gonna stand alone.
But Naruto, he's inspiring, honestly.
I did not ask you about him. I did not ask you about his 7 lives, or the demons he's into. I'm just asking you, does it please Allah or please Shaitan? Simple as that. Very simple question. Don't beat around the bush. He's not going to save you in your grave. I'm not going to do anything to you on the day of judgment. I'm going to bail out for myself, man. It's my skin. So this is how we roll in Islam. It's not what the people say. It's not what my followers dictate that I should do.
And keep in mind, this is the guy that's calling you a gooner.
Okay, if I ever wanted to get canceled, this is the video. I saw Cuties last night and it was pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. I went in ready to hate like everybody else. I saw the cover and I got clickbaited. So did you. You got clickbaited. This is one of the movies that's gonna age well. Like right now the outrage is really strong, so saying something like this video probably already has half dislikes. And I even tweeted like, Cuties is clickbait. This was a pretty good movie. And everybody replying like, I'm unfollowing you. This is the limit, Sneeko. This is the limit. I can guarantee you, none of you saw the fucking movie, dummies. How do you criticize a movie that you didn't see? What's really funny is how different the covers are for the release of the European version of Cuties and the American version of Cuties. The European version is just like a normal thing. It says mignon and just like girls playing, because to them, this is a movie about growing pains, about childhood. It's a coming of age film. But here, we only see the most provocative parts of the film. We only see the girls dressed down, we only see the twerking, and we get mad immediately. That's why the cover looks like it's a beauty pageant. I thought it was gonna be a reality show about girls dancing. It's completely the opposite. The reason that I uninstalled TikTok was because every time I'd go on, there would be a 13, probably a 13-year-old girl dancing to WAP. There's some boys in this. The thing about Cuties is it's not an unrealistic film. Like, yes, it shows children in a sexual way, but this is not unusual now. And the people...
Again, this is the person. These are the people that call you a gooner. These are the people calling you pedophile. Ask yourself this question. Every time these people come out and call you something where you respect the culture of Japan, it's not violating any ethics in terms of children. There are no children involved in anime. I don't know why they even say that. In terms of voice acting, there is that, but like in terms of like animation, there is no involvement of children. They always say, oh, the person's drawing and they got a child on the desk and they're copying the image of the child, and it's like, okay, where's the victim? There is no victim. Here's the problem. These are the people that will call you a gooner, as they want you to focus on a red herring that is primarily in an isolated country, as they are importing people that say death to your fucking country, death to your people, and death to anyone who's a Jew, a Christian, idolizes Western society, or adopts any form of capitalism. And they all work together to kill you. And you should treat them exactly how they want to treat you. This is Yoshi the Oreo. Take care and God bless.